This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my review of the Looney Tunes Show. I'm going to be going over the 2 seasons of it. I'm pretty sure 2 seasons. It might be one of those weird things where HBO Max has it set up the wrong way. I think there's a chance it might have been 3 seasons long, but still, I'm going to be going over it. And starting off, we have a fun episode with best friends. This is when Bugs and Daffy both go on to a game show to try and win a prize because Daffy wants to win it. But Daffy knows nothing about Bugs, and that's why they lose the game show. And then he eventually goes and takes Bugs on a cruise after becoming a little too desperate to be his friend and learning everything about him. And that was a pretty fun one. Then we have members only, and this is him looking at the HBO Max thing, and they've messed up all of the thumbnails for these. Well, not all of them, but most of them, because members only has the thumbnail to Jailbird and Jail Bunny, which is the next episode, but still, this is pretty fun. We get to see Bugs' first encounter with Lola. We also see some other things. We get to see Daffy faking his way into the country club and then get beat up for stealing Lola's father's account number. It was all, fun and interesting. And then there is Jailbird and Jail Bunny, which is a great one where Bugs and Daffy go to jail for contempt in court after getting into a massive fight. Some great jokes about Porky not wearing pants. Yeah, it was a really funny episode. And then there's Fish and Visitors, which is it's an okay one where Yosemite Sam kind of invites himself over after basically switching his house to solar power before a massive rainstorm. And then there's Monster Talent, which is a fun episode focusing on Daffy and Gossamer and then Bugs doing a commercial. Another decent one is Reunion, where it's mainly a bunch of lies that Daffy tells at his high school reunion begin to collapse in upon himself until he realizes that he actually lied to himself about how popular he was in high school. And we can see a funny thing where Porky Pig used to be a complete jerk, and well, now he is like the nicest guy. And it is pretty funny to see how he changed so much. And then there is Casa de Coma, which is a funny one at a resort. And with this one, we get to see just some crazy things. As Daffy Duck tries to impress a movie star, I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be Scarlett Johansson. I can't remember if they directly said her name or if I was trying to be subtle, although Scarlett Johansson is directly referenced in a later episode. Yeah, looking at this, we also have Devil Dog, which is the first appearance of Taz, and that's a great storyline. It's a really funny episode, and we get to see how Bugs takes care of a wild Tasmanian devil thinking it's a dog. And then another funny one is the Foghorn Leghorn story. And I think this one came out earlier than it's supposed to because it references a later episode, which is Working Duck. So this one does take place chronologically in an odd place. So it's a great episode where we get to see Daffy Duck make a movie about Foghorn Leghorn and then the conflict between Bugs and Yosemite Sam, considering the vase they found. And then another interesting one is Eligible Bachelors. This one we get to see a story of Granny in World War II as a spy. And then Bugs and Lola go on a date to Paris. Wheel of Fortune's a pretty funny one because we get to see Daffy steal one of Bugs' inventions. And then Yeah, he basically ruins everything, and he gets a house destroyed, and kind of ruins Bug's life. But then he is able to be saved by Bugs creating a time machine, and he has some great inventions like the case with a handle on it, butt paper, and I can't remember the third one. I don't remember what the third one was. Oh, sliced bread. And then I guess one of the ones there is Double Date, where I think this is the first one we see Tina in, and this is a good episode to set up the relationship between Daffy and Tina, which I think Tina is an original character for the show and has never been seen in any other Looney Tunes or cartoon ever again. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. A fun one is To Bowl or Not to Bowl, where we get to see Porky become the bowling ball. That was a really funny moment. And Newspaper Thief is another great one where we get to see Daffy going and accusing everyone of being a thief of his newspaper. It's really funny. We get a great murder mystery, and I love this episode. Honestly, I love all these episodes so much. This is such a great show, and this is one of my favorites growing up. Bugs and Daffy Get a Job is a really weird one where we get the creepy Daffy Duck with his beak cut off, and then we get Bugs and Porky at work, and Bugs kind of gets Porky fired. I would have seen it as a good thing because Porky hated his job. One other thing is, okay, that's definitely now. As funny as That's My Baby. And with that, we have Daffy looking after Tina's sister's baby and seeing how bad an idea it is to leave a baby with him as he takes the baby to a war movie and so many other things. We also get the upsell storyline with Porky, which is really funny. Sunday Night Slice, that's a nice one to explain, the question of why Speedy Gonzalez owns a pizza restaurant. There's also a great scene in the beginning where Daffy gets the life beaten out of him by a baseball player who he kept taunting. Really funny, and it kind of reminds you of something that has happened recently. And then looking at some other things, there is a DMV, and that's a really funny one where we get just some great stuff. And then Off Duty Cop is another great one where we get to see Daffy impersonating an off duty cop and arresting a bunch of people for no reason. And then we get the great ending where he gets arrested along with a company of Sparkle because they are having an extremely dangerous drink. You get to see Yosemite Sam running around naked in the obviously the cartoon censored naked, but inside of the office because Bugs has kidnapped him to get the Sparkle. And yeah, it's pretty funny. Working Duck is one where you learn why Daffy Duck doesn't carry his own weight, and that's because he went and destroyed one of the biggest companies in the world after somehow becoming a CEO because Foghorn Leghorn was the former CEO and gave it to Daffy, which is really funny. French fries is a great one over just such a dumb argument because this entire thing is based off of Daffy thinking that his fries were mean by Porky and Porky thinking they were for the table. It's such a great one where Bugs gets in the middle of it and he just wants to go see it was the football playoffs. And yeah, that is such a funny episode. And then there's Beauty School. I think that's, it's a good one. It, definitely has. It's one of the ones I think is more forgettable because the other ones are just so great. So it is a good episode. Then we get an episode that shows how truly horrible of a person Daffy Duck is. And basically, if this person existed in real life, you'd probably want to kill the guy for what he did. And so on, he tricks Porky out of all of his money so he could buy a luxury yacht for himself since his parade float was destroyed. And it was just such a garbage thing for him to do. It's such a funny episode. And yeah, this is one of the things that if this was in real life, you would hate the person, but since it's an animated character in a cartoon, you're totally fine with it because it's just for entertainment. Okay, I don't know who does this, though. It's such a horrible thing, but this is such a great episode. And then probably looking at my second favorite episode of the show, we have The Shelf. And yeah, The Shelf is such a great episode. We get to see Bugs winning a Nobel Prize, and with how overconfident he is with that, he goes and nearly destroys the house completely, trying to put up the shelf. And he's so embarrassed by this, he goes to the hardware store in different disguises. There's some great moments when he freaks out because he realizes he didn't turn off the water main. And he has to freak out also because he's how expensive it is to replace his house. For his house, because it's so funny. And a few other things. There is Murderer. Oh boy, this is another dumb one, but great one. And this is where Daffy thinks that Porky is the suburban strangler, and because he's so dumb and weak, he can't get out of Porky's house. And we have a great part at the end where he's throwing Porky around and beats him up, and it turns out it was all a surprise for his birthday. And then, honestly, the one I forget the most about. So, this is one more that's kind of as forgettable, but this one is definitely the most forgettable one, which is Point Laser Point. And this is one that takes Sylvester the cat in a more major role. I don't remember what the B plot of this episode is. Um, and this is even more because it has the wrong description for this episode. Yeah, and this is kind of annoying because it has the description for the murderer, and it doesn't have anything else. Yeah, I don't remember what the B plot of this one is. Looking at season 2, there's just so many more great episodes. We have Bobcats on 3, which is about water polo, and yeah, it's a funny episode. You Got Hate Mail is another great one because you get the great thing of Daffy sending hate mail and he didn't intend to, and then he gets everyone hating him and he tries to delete it from Tina's computer, but it turns out it's actually a really nice thing he said about her. Yeah, a really dumb one is Itsy Bitsy Gopher. And this is when one of the gophers is supposedly missing, although he just went to park. And yeah, that's a pretty funny one. Another dumb one is Rebel Without a Glove. And this is Bugs and Daffy's personality completely changing because Bugs doesn't have his gloves and Daffy legally changed his name to Professor. And that was a pretty funny episode. And then up next is my favorite episode, and it's Semper Lie. I believe I'm saying that correctly. I don't know, I just looked it up for the pronunciation because this is the one I was never know how to pronounce. And it seems that it's Latin and it means always lie. And oh boy, this is such a great episode. We get to see that Bugs goes and starts to lie because he doesn't want to go to a peach festival. And things get so extreme that Daffy ends up joining the Marines because he thinks he's getting kicked out of his home. And Bugs winds up in an Albanian prison. And this episode is just so amazing. It's my favorite episode of the show because of just how absurd and ridiculous it is. It's just so fun. And then there's Father Figures next. It's an okay episode. It's one that puts Bugs with Lola's father, and we also have the B plot, well, two B plot, B and a C plot about Daffy and Foghorn being together, and Daffy being the well father figure having Foghorn as one, and then we have Porky being a father figure to Henry the Chicken Hawk, and that's a pretty funny one because we get the part where they literally watch paint dry, and then Porky wants to go literally watch grass grow, and that was so funny. And then there's another great episode. I think this might be number three for me. I don't know, I definitely know my top two, but I'm not really sure on number three because there's so many great ones. We have customer service, and this one we get to see the more classic Looney Tunes Bugs Bunny, where he's going and getting revenge on people and doing a bunch of absurd stuff. And this one is a lot more justified because we have Cecil the Turtle just being the absolute worst in this. He goes and turns off Bugs' cable and refuses to put it back on, and he's intentionally messing with him. And once Bugs figures this out, he goes into full on sabotage mode. At the same time, we get to see that Daffy is working customer service because he learns it's a job that makes people miserable. Well, no, you could use to make people miserable since he does that for free. And yeah, he goes and begins to fire everyone. But this A plot is such an amazing storyline because you get to see Bugs getting revenge and declaring war on Cecil the Turtle. And Cecil definitely deserves it. And it's such a fun one that calls back to classic Looney Tunes. And then looking at some ones we have the Stud, the Nerd, the Average Joe, and the Saint. And this is a really funny one. Not the best one, but it's still a fun one. Oh boy, another great one is It's a Handbag, where we get to see an entire storyline of Daffy Duck freaking out because his handbag, not a purse, it's a handbag. He believes it's been stolen, but it's actually been taken by mall security because he left it on a chair. Such a great episode. And then, I'm not going to say really anything about it. There is episode 10, A Christmas Carol. I have already fully reviewed this when I did holiday content back in December, so you can look at that. Episode 11 has We're in a Truffle, and it's a really funny one where he takes Porky and tries to make him hunt for truffles. We also get to see Will accidentally turn Gossamer into a bear and has alarm clock into a frog, but they think it's the other way around. Really funny. There is Dear John, which is another great episode. As there's so many great episodes. This one has Daffy Duck joining the city council. I'm pretty sure it's this one, and then he starts to hate it because it's so boring, but everyone loves him because he goes and speaks his mind, and they're trying to make it become a law that he is a permanent member of the city council, and he hates it so much he goes and fakes his own death. Such a great episode. But then we also have the other plot, which is not as good. We get Bugs and Lola basically, getting to the thing where they make a mistake about what someone's saying, and both think they've been broken up with, and yeah, that was a really interesting. It's an interesting storyline, but it's definitely not as good as that other plot where Daffy goes and have the city council member and fakes his own death. And then we have Daffy Duck Esquire, where he fakes being a lawyer because bad things happened last time he impersonated a doctor. Even though we haven't seen that, it's a pretty funny thing to reference, and you don't need to see it because it's just a good joke. Then there is Spread those wings and fly. It's another fun one. Those videos getting long, so I'm gonna skip over it because I don't have too much to say about it. There's the Black Widow, and that's such an amazing episode. We get to see Lola framing Bugs for crimes she committed because she believes she lost her mother's bracelet, but she actually put on as an anklet. And things get pretty crazy, and it's so fun. This is the one I think this is the yeah, this is the one where Daffy goes on spring break and gets arrested in a Mexican jail. Really great. And then there's Mrs. Porky Bunny. I think that's a good one. It's not amazing, but it's still a pretty good one. And then looking at a few other ones, we're getting towards the end stretch of these. We have Gribbler's Quest, which is probably the best for when Daffy starts to fix himself. Until basically Bug says something and he's like, "Oh wait, there's nothing wrong with me," and everyone's like, "No, no, no, there's plenty wrong with you." Another good one is the Grand Old Duck of York, where Daffy tries to learn to play piano, and we get an entire thing about how you probably shouldn't have earplugs in when people are trying to talk to you. It's a fun episode. I think the second most forgettable episode is Ridiculous Journey, which is an episode that focuses on Sylvester, Tweety, and Taz. Although you get to see a bunch of more classic Looney Tunes characters like the Abominable Snowman or the Yeti, I'm not sure which one he is. When they go by, and we also see the Three Bears. This one is a little more forgettable to me. And then we have another amazing one with the Shell Game. And this one is another Cecil the Turtle one, where he is going and trying to pull off a scam. And probably one of the best scenes at the end is when he has a gun aimed at Bugs and Porky, who realize the scam he's pulling, and he is tricked into sitting in Daffy's broken recliner that Bugs sold. And yeah, we get to see him. Flies out, and this recliner being broken launches him out, and the gun lands in Porky's hands. We get a hilarious shot of him trembling with a gun. Really great scene. And we get some of the other ones. One of the final episodes. Year of the Duck is a good episode. Not great. I think it's a pretty good one. Gossamer is Awesomer is a fun one with Daffy and Gossamer, who are always great together. Here Comes the Pig. That one's okay. It is Daffy and Porky going to crash a wedding, because Daffy thinks this is the perfect person for Porky. There's Mr. Wiener, which is another fun episode. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. And it's a fun episode we get to look at. A bunch of different things, including Yosemite Sam trying to jump a school bus over motorcycles, and Daffy trying to win a hot dog eating contest because they both want to live up to their family legacies. And we also get to see Porky meeting Petunia Pig, who we met in the previous episode, Here Comes the Pig. And then there's Best Friends Redux, which is an episode where we get to see Daffy Duck trying to make Bugs his best friend after he learns of Rodney Rabbit, who thinks that Bugs is his best friend, and Daffy thinks that he has to be Bugs' best friend, and yeah, it's a really funny episode. There's a bunch of time travel and stuff, and it's pretty funny. And then the series finale is oddly a Superman parody, which is kind of referencing back to the first episode of the show where Bugs tells his story as the story of Superman since Daffy was falling asleep. Yeah, this is an entire story of, I think, Superman 2. I haven't watched the movie, so I'm not sure, but I think it's similar to it. And we get to see Bugs as Superman. We see Daffy as General Zod. Elmer Fudd as Lex Luthor, and just so many other fun things. There are also some great different shorts in this. We have the Merry Melodies, and I posted some of the best ones, including President's Day, and Daffy Duck the Wizard on the channel. There's also some Rotor Coyote shorts. And yeah, those are fun to watch. And overall, this is such a great show and definitely a personal favorite of mine. Well, I don't know what you think about this show. Let me know in the comments. And I'll see you all in the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.